Hello and welcome to our little tutorial about flash drives. Flash drives are also known as thumb drives or memory sticks, and they probably go by a few other names. But if you walk into a place like Staples or Best Buy and ask to see their flash drives, they'll point to a display that will have a whole ton of the little devices on it. Flash drives are a way to back up data or to store data so you can transport it from one device to another. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and capacities. And when I say capacities, I mean how much they can store or how much information or data they can store. Generally speaking, the higher the capacity of the flash drive, the more expensive it's going to be. But even nowadays, you can get a 64 gigabyte flash drive, which will hold a fair amount of data at a reasonable price. They have a bigger brother out there known as an external hard drive. Now, a flash drive is a small device you can hold in your hand. An external drive looks a little bit more like a black box. It looks almost like a book. And the primary difference between the two is an external hard drive has much more space on it, much more capacity. But both of them will work in a similar fashion when it comes to sending data to them and pulling that data back from them. Now, when I get a flash drive, the most notable thing about it is that most flash drives will have a USB plug on them. That's that silver rectangular plug at the end, and that's the end that goes into the computer. Now, some flash drives may not. There are flash drives that are made actually to plug into things like iPhones, but they aren't the kind of more common ones that you're going to find. The important thing to keep in mind when you're plugging in the actual drive is to make sure that you're plugging it into a USB port on your computer and not the HDMI port. As you can see at the bottom of this slide, the HDMI opening looks a little bit different. It's not quite as rectangular as the USB ports are. You're also going to have a lot of USB spaces on your computer, and you may only have a couple or even just one HDMI connection. Now, when it comes to actually inserting the flash drive into your computer, it's very simple. All you do is you just pick it up and you plug it in. Now, if you notice that there's any resistance when you're plugging it in, try turning the key upside down and then plug it in that way. Sometimes you get it the wrong side up and it's not easy to plug in. The most important thing is you shouldn't have to force the flash drive into your computer. If you're doing that, there is something wrong. You need to take a look at the drive and where you're plugging it in. Once you plug in the flash drive, though, you're off to the races. So now I'm just going to take a moment and I'm going to plug a flash drive into my own computer. It may take a second or two for it to be recognized, and I might even find, depending on how my Windows is set up, it might just automatically open up the Windows Explorer to show me what's on my Kingston drive. It says Kingston D up here, and it shows Kingston D over here as well. You might actually see Kingston D popping up in a couple of places, but I can guarantee you, even though there's two references to it, it's making reference to the same flash drive. And I can see over here and over here that I have some folders of documents on that drive already, because once again, if I click a storage location on the left, the contents of it show up on the right. On some computers, what might happen is you might get a message that pops up asking what do you want to do with this item that you've just plugged in. And in cases like that, I'd click the command that says open folder to view files. If you're working on a Mac, usually what'll happen is you'll have to go into your Finder to see where the memory stick is. You'll also see an icon pops up for the memory stick on your desktop. And once again, I might use flash drive and memory stick interchangeably during this little tutorial. Now, once I've got the flash drive plugged in, I can then go to any storage location on my computer, maybe even up here, let's say, and I've got this folder about a LinkedIn class, and I want to copy that over to my Kingston drive. All I need to do is right-click on the item, and right-clicking on things produces a list of shortcuts. Then I can go down this menu, and I can go to Send To. And then I can jump across to Kingston D. And if I click on Kingston D, that's a left click, I might see a little animation pops up, but what it's doing is it's copying that folder over to the flash drive. It's leaving it on my computer, but it's making a copy of it on the flash drive. And if I scroll down a little bit, I should see that my LinkedIn folder is over there. And if I click on my LinkedIn folder underneath Kingston D, I'll see the documents that are contained within this folder. And I just did a copy with a folder full of information, but I'm not restricted to that. So, I could go maybe to another location on my computer, and I know in here I have a folder called training samples. I'm going to open that up by double clicking on it. And I also know that there is a folder full of cat pictures. So let's say I don't want to take the whole folder. I just want to take maybe one item in it. I can double click to open up that folder. And let's say I want to send a copy of this little guy over to my flash drive. Again, I could right click, send to, and click on the name of the flash drive. And I don't even notice, because it transfers across so quickly, I don't even notice that it's went there. The other option as well that I can do is, I'm just going to click on some empty space. I can also click and drag the file, or folder as the case may be, over to Kingston D. And if I take my time with it, you'll see it actually says copy to. So I'm not moving the item from the computer to the drive. I'm copying it over to the drive. So I'll go and I'll just let it go there. I don't really notice anything until I go and click on Kingston D, and then I'll see that the pictures of the cats are there on the list. By the way, if I can't see them, I can change the view here for a second to large icons, and then that'll show you that the pictures are actually there. All right. Now, one thing about this as well is at some point or another, let's say, heaven forbid, something happens to your computer and you've stored material on your flash drive, you can put it back. You can copy it back to the computer quite easily. So again, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to pretend I've just plugged the memory stick in. I've went down here into what's called the File Explorer. And actually, let me just close this off. So let's say I plug my memory stick back in. I don't get any notification it's been plugged in or anything like that. If I give it a minute or two, I can come down here to this little folder once again, give it a click. And as long as I give it a minute for the computer to recognize it, I will see that the key does appear there. Now, if I click on the actual name of the flash drive or memory stick or memory key, again, all different terminology, but all the same thing. If I want to go and copy one of these items back to the computer, I can just do a simple click and drag. So let's say I want to copy this picture for whatever reason to my desktop. I'd usually put it into my pictures, but just let's say I want to put it in my desktop instead. I can simply click and drag it over to where I want the item to go. So if I go and I move it over there and I take my time with it, I'll see that it actually says copy to desktop. And if I go and let go at this point, I don't really notice anything has changed. Again, the files are still there on the flash drive. But if I go ahead and close this off, I can look around, and on my desktop, there's the picture of the lovely little cat. So when it comes to using things such as a memory stick, flash drive, thumb drive, whatever you want to call it, or even an external drive, because again, these work basically the same way, first thing you need to do is plug the device into your computer. Whether or not a window opens up showing you what's in the device, or you get a message on your screen, that doesn't matter, because if you give the computer a minute to recognize the item's been plugged in, you just need to come down here to the File Explorer and give it a click. And then from there, if you want to copy items to the drive, what you can do is you can go ahead and, let's say, click and drag the item over to the drive to copy it there, and it'll make a copy on the drive. And similarly, if your intention is to bring data back off of the drive, you plug it in, you click on the name of the drive within the Windows File Explorer, and then from there you can go and copy whatever you want just by doing a good old click and drag. So I'm going to go and click and drag this file over to the desktop as well. So that's our little quick introduction to how flash drives work. Again, you can take the same steps and apply them to memory drives, or pardon me, external drives as well. So give it a try and see how it works for you. If you need further information or further training on how to use your computers and related technology, don't be afraid to check out my website at www.gruntmulti.com. That's gruntmulti.com. And feel free to drop me a line if you like. Thanks for taking the time.